When a camera company that I use goes missing in the wilderness, it gets me thinking, what's going on with Canon and where are all their new cinema cameras? Being primarily a Canon Red and Blackmagic designed cinema camera user, I've enjoyed Blackmagic's yearly camera updates, but I've also been left wondering why Canon's design team has laid so dormant. Canon's slumber has had users talking and speculating on rumour sites for almost 3 years now. Because in the same time, Sony has dropped the FX3, the Burano, and some other mirrorless cameras that have just been filled to the brim with amazing video-centric features. Red's now being sold to Nikon, one of Canon's biggest competitors who have rolled out the V-Raptor, VVXL, and converted their entire lineup to global shutter cinema cameras. A little while back, Blackmagic stunned everyone with their low-cost full-frame 6K cinema camera, leaving Canon holding the bag with its last cinema camera announcement being the C70 and R5c. If you're like me, you could also be wondering if Canon has just given up on their cinema camera range. We have all seen the rumors and the patents for Canon's box-styled Komodo camera, which sadly just hasn't materialized. But now maybe with the Red sale to Nikon, it will? Maybe? I still have faith that Canon has something very substantial on the horizon. The reason I say this is, 1, NAB isn't too far away, and there seems to be a lot of very low-hour C300 Mark IIIs and C500 Mark II cameras appearing for sale on the used market. MPB has quite a number of them. This one only has 1 run hour on it, and you can easily check what MPB paid by trying to sell them the same camera that you want to buy. When I did a price check on the MPB system, they offered me €2,800 for a brand new open box C500 Mark II, so they could sell it for 6K used, stating that's what the open market is willing to pay for the camera. And as they need to turn a profit, they could only offer €2,800 for what I was wanting to sell. But that also means that somebody sold their C500 Mark II with only 1 clock hour on it for €2,800. Now, traditionally, when you start seeing this happen, someone somewhere up the chain of command has let it slip to their friends down below that something new is in the pipeline and that they should offload their used cameras now while they're still worth something. It's clear to me that somebody definitely does know something somewhere, or maybe the entire industry has known something is going on, as Nikon wouldn't have been the only company in the bidding for Red. But here we are, well into the usual 4-year refresh cycle of Canon cinema camera replacements. And as my Canon rep hinted last year, no new cinema cameras would come in 2023, they would come in 2024. So half of what he has told me has come true so far. And as this is an Olympic year, I would think that Canon will release the R1 before that time, and then later in the year, update the C500 to a Mark III, the C300 to a Mark IV, and then possibly release a C200 Mark II or an R5c Mark II cameras all in RF mount. Even though I would love to see a Canon Komodo styled camera, I don't think we will. Maybe Blackmagic Design will enter this space, but not Canon. Canon's overwhelming success with the R5c will lead them to believe they don't need to make any design changes, and that could possibly be a mistake on their behalf. Because at the price point of the R5c, there are more compelling options now like those from Zcam. Canon will stick to their philosophy of small, mirrorless hybrid cameras. They have what now? A dozen of them already in different sizes and models ranging from $500 to $5,000 and that doesn't include what they will release this year. The R5 II will probably be around $3,500 and the R1 will sit above the R3, so it's most likely going to retail for $6,000 to $7,000. Yes, these cameras will come with some great video features, but Canon, unlike Sony, will not cannibalize their cinema camera lineup, which again, I think is a huge mistake considering Red's sale to Nikon. Nikon's acquisition of Red will eventually cause a future abandonment of the RF mount by the brand, and as Nikon now owns Red's compressed RAW recording patents, it would also be in Nikon's interest to revoke Red's agreement with Canon, which would also force Canon to remove any form of internal compressed RAW recording capabilities from all of their cameras. Nikon would then be in a dominant position in both the hybrid and cinema camera markets, and they would be the only company besides Blackmagic offering an internal compressed RAW format. If Nikon does execute this strategy, Canon is going to have to step up their game to stop users jumping ship to whatever Red and Nikon release in a smaller cinema camera package. Nikon will absolutely use its newly acquired technology to implement Red's R3D compressed RAW into its mirrorless lineup. I mean, why wouldn't they? It will happen. It will absolutely happen. It's just a matter of time, and that move will shake up all the major players like Sony, Canon, Panasonic, Fuji, Zcam, Kinfinity, and even Arri. That means for us cinema camera users, there will be an absolute abundance of new competitive cameras coming soon, but I don't see any of them shipping until September or after the Olympics. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. The reality is Canon could have released new cameras at least 2 years ago, especially in regards to the long-awaited C200 Mark II. And I think making customers wait for these long overdue refreshes is just going to raise expectations of potential improvements, which could just blow up in Canon's face, considering where Sony, Nikon now buying Red, and Arri had just moved the playing field to in Canon's absence, which has to make you think that with such a long hiatus, is this sleeping giant just about to wake up and shock us all? Or is it just going to fall completely flat on its face again and disappoint users? There just has to be something really special that they're adding to whatever cameras they have secretly hiding in the background. My guess, and this is just a guess, is that they are going to release something with a new dual gain, high dynamic range, full frame global shuttered sensor, something to attempt to take a chunk from the Sony Red and Arri market space. We only need to look at some of the innovation Canon has been patenting over the last couple of years, but really what most cinema camera users want is more dynamic range, faster sensor readouts, a global shutter, smaller cameras that don't need expensive modules to get more functionality, have 32-bit float internal audio recording capabilities, internal NDIs for wireless distribution on set, and internal NDs, better anamorphic modes, a more flexible lens mount, and a standardized log mode for all of their cameras with internal ProRes for better post workflows. Would that be asking too much, Canon? I don't think so. Not for what Canon charges for their cinema camera lineup and how little resale value they seem to have. Whether or not any of these features come to market will be interesting to see, but until then, it's definitely worth discussing. It's undeniable that Nikon's acquisition of Red is a huge issue for Canon. Plus, Red, Zcam, and Sony have all proved that their customers prefer a global shutter in a camera if it doesn't come at the cost of dynamic range or other features. But maybe I'm just hard to please because I'm still waiting to be wowed again by Canon like I was when this fantastic camera was released back in 2008. And I have a great video on why the Canon 5D Mark II is still relevant today, which you can watch right here.
Swipe up, tag your friends, like and subscribe, comment below. If I make this follow, don't let this flop, wait till